So, welcome, Farmer Faubs, to the bridge.
Howdy, howdy, everyone.
It's so nice to have you on here. We were just chatting as we were getting started about just how lucky we both are to be in this space with educational technology and connected learning with the people that we have found ourselves in with. And
A hundred, yeah.
I just don't think that happens by accident, but I also don't think it's just like I feel like I work my tail off to be connected. And I like full disclosure, I am a Farmer Fobs fangirl, as am a book creator fangirl. So like I'm dialed in a little bit, and I know you work for it too. So like tell us a little bit about your journey. Like your bio will be in the show notes, but like your journey,
Yeah.
like how did you get here and then what you do now.
Yeah, you know what? My grandma always says you are where you're supposed to be and everything happens for a reason.
Love that.
And my grandma, a lot of people that follow me know my grandma is my best friend and she's 92 and taught for 36 years. And so, sometimes you just gotta listen. I was born and raised in Ohio, grew up on her farm, 100 acres, and then found my way to El Paso, Texas for 16 years. And I always say, I never knew this edtech community ever existed.
Mm.
I taught digital media and, I was a basketball coach and just, into sports, into digital media, graphic design with Adobe. And then I moved back home and it's where I was then introduced to this edtech. I call it edtech cult, really. Um, um,
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, so it's been a super blessing and sometimes the chats before these podcasts are the podcasts.
Yeah.
And so just how thankful I am to just find my people. And I would be
Yeah.
nowhere close to where I'm at today if it wasn't for my big brothers, my big sisters,
Yeah.
like shout out to Ann. I feel
Yeah.
like she's just that big sister for me.
Mm-hmm.
But so many amazing people that have really seen the vision before I saw the vision of where I was going to go and what I was going to be and how I was going to contribute to this
Mm.
edtech space. So thankful that I can share just my Yeehaw moments that I have as an educator. And it's literally why I started sharing, just because I felt like if I started sharing, I could inspire other teachers
Yeah.
to give kids those Yeehaw moments that I give those kids and just kind of be contagious and be able to be supportive
Oh
and
yeah.
to see where it's all led. Just because of the power of social media and the power of community is everything to me. So that's a little tidbit
A little bit
about
there.
myself. Yeah, that's a
I
little
love
bit
that.
behind the scenes. Yeah.
Be contagious. That is so appropriate. and and I can connect to that a lot. I actually like right this right here I got from my sister years ago, and it says she was learning the most beautiful thing of all, shine. By letting her light shine brightly, she was giving others permission to shine. And that's totally, I think that captures what you just shared too. It's like
That's
you
a
got to be
really great way to
contagious,
put it.
right?
Yeah,
Like
and you know what? I think when we are contagious, and I tell people share what
yes.
you're doing in your classroom, not to boast about yourself,
Mhm.
but you want to share because you want to inspire that other teacher either down the hallway or
Yep.
across the states or even across the pond,
Yep.
in other countries. Is That's why I tell people to share and showcase what you're doing in your classroom, not to just give yourself a big pat on the back, but
Yeah.
you're wanting to be contagious. You're wanting
Yeah.
to shine because you are giving somebody else just that idea, that spark.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
also it's okay. We say it's okay to be extra,
Yeah.
and you find your people and you find your extra people. And so when you share, you give somebody the opportunity and just that boost to go be extra because I was
Yeah.
extra, you go be extra
Yeah.
and find your people. So,
Yeah. Let's
yeah.
be extra together. That makes it like normal.
I
So,
was about to
okay.
say, I feel like I was born extra, so I
I
don't even know
know.
what you call me.
I think you're not extra enough is what I say to people. I think you need to be a little bit more.
Yeah.
So so you have been in education for how long?
Uh, okay, so I taught for 10 years, and then this is about year number 2, so
Okay.
about 12 years.
So you were in the classroom like up through and including COVID.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I taught online for over a year and a half.
Oh
And
my
in
gosh.
El Paso, we never went back for a whole year. So
Oh,
we were out of the classroom for about a year and a half. So I was that teacher during COVID, 100%.
wow. And
Yep.
what do you think was like what were some of your like yeehaw moments, using your words? What were those yeehaw moments that got you through, like, I don't want to be like hyper focused on COVID, but like when you were in the classroom, what like stands out? What were some of those like shiny little nuggets that you remember?
Yeah, you know what, for me, so I taught digital media and I
Mm-hmm.
taught a class that wasn't an elective.
Right.
Sometimes kids were just thrown in there to get their credit. I taught 9 through  12, but I took every kid that walked through my classroom as an opportunity
Mm.
to allow them to see what creativity looks like.
Yep.
Some kids say, I'm not creative. Every kid is creative in their own right. And,
Teachers say that too, by the way. Teachers say that all
yeah,
the time. And I'm like,
all the
oh, you
time.
need to find your creative. You got
You
it.
know, 100%. So the first day of every class would always say creativity takes courage.
Mm-hmm.
And so those kids had to, we had to really embody that and say, this creativity is going to take courage. And so also when I do PD, is I say that, hey, teachers, creativity takes courage and we're all in this together. And so just for me, seeing kids go from I'm not creative to just finding their why and hearing kids
Yeah.
say, this is what I want to do when I get out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what they wanted to be, but this class led them to like finding their why and finding that. And another big thing is I started, just this sense of community within all of my class periods where I started a social media for that class where I would, kind of maybe pick the top 10 designs out of all of my classes and put them on social media and really highlight and really
Oh, cool.
showcase what was happening in our class. And those kids absolutely, they got better and better and better and better because they wanted their work to shine. They wanted the world to
Mm.
see their work. And just having other kids continue to share other kids and uplift other kids and just showcase like, hey, I love that design. I want to do that too. And so it really felt like there was this community of creativity amongst all of our classes. These kids weren't in the same class
Yeah.
periods, but they were supporting each other's creativity. And I really enjoyed that, just celebration. And it kind of really embodies what I do even today is just celebrating each other's creativity and celebrating everybody's yaha moments, because everybody has one.
Yeah.
And it's like when we celebrate, we lift each other up, we're just getting better and better and better. So that was some yeehaw moments for me.
Well, so talk a little bit about what you're doing now. So you said you were in the classroom for 10 years, and these last
Yeah.
2 years you are doing
Yeah, so
what?
when I came back to Ohio, I started working for a company that was a People PD partner, and then I was an instructional coach at my small town. So I was very thankful for that step in my journey. It really
Mhm.
opened my eyes to what is this edtech?
Yeah.
What is ISTE? What are conferences? I didn't know anything about it. So was there about a year and a half, and then joined Book Creator in January as a
Oh.
district growth manager. So I get to foster all of the pilots throughout the whole country. I get to help
Oh,
just
no big
support.
deal.
No
Oh
big deal.
my
No big deal. No
gosh.
big
You're
deal.
like the country.
The country. If people are like, you have an area, I'm like, the country. But I
The
love it. I
United
love
States.
it.
Yeah.
United States. I love it because, for a lot of people, I get to be their first touch of book creator. And, they get to go through 3 different rodeos and they are hands on and they are creating. And like, we're always like, start off with a big old yeehaw, but really giving those teachers the power to be creative and confident in that tool where they can then go and allow students to be creative.
Yeah,
And so that's
exactly.
my biggest thing is like, I love getting people excited about using creativity in their classroom. Really, no matter what tool they are using,
Yeah.
we have to give every kid the opportunity to be creative. We have to give every kid the
Yeah.
opportunity to have voice and choice.
Yep.
And I just get the opportunity to work for a book creator and showcase how amazing that tool is. Really uplift our community, through the states. And so, yeah, I'm very thankful to be able to be here today with that.
So when you like how'd you find Book Creator?
Ooh, that's an interesting question because I often share this in my PD.
Okay.
Because for me, when I went to my small town when I moved back up here, I was big into Adobe and Canva,
Hmm.
and I come into this small town, I'm tech driven, and I'm like, yeah, like, does anybody know what Canva is? And they're like, what's that? And I was like, we got work to do. We got work to do. And so we really started using Canva, and then we were able to get Adobe Express onboarded. But, some teachers were like, hey, Faubs, like, it's a lot. Maybe
Yeah.
my kids aren't finishing, they're going down rabbit holes. Um, Teachers were having a hard time understanding how to use the tool,
Yeah.
or tools. And they're like, we're done. We're thrown in the towel. And I was like, no, 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 no.
No.
And so, yeah, I think about a year ago, a lot of the tech tools I know is because of social media.
Yeah.
And, I've been able to connect with people that use Book Creator. And I'm like, I think this is the time. I think this is the moment.
Mm.
So I brought Book Creator in, and it just really, really, the kids loved it. The teachers loved it. They were able to allow every kid in their classroom to have voice and choice,
Mm.
video, audio, translation, speech to text. And then we finally got the Adobe Express
Yeah.
integration this year, which I
So
was like
good.
stoked.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that was my journey to Book Creator, and and then I'm a co-founder of the EduGuardians, which is a
Yep.
PLN on social media, and everybody was creating their trading cards, and I'm like, we need to have them all housed in one place. So I was like, okay, heard about this Book Creator, but I've never really used it. Why not now? So I create my first book was our EduGuardian book where I just threw in
Oh.
all the trading cards, and then created our junior EduGuardian book where kids get to go in and create their trading cards in Book Creator now with the Adobe Express or Canva. So yeah, that's been my Book Creator journey, and just hearing from the teachers and
Yeah.
knowing that okay, I have to really, my mission is for every kid to be creative, and I will find something. Don't give
Mm.
up on creativity.
Mm.
there's
Mm-mm.
there's tools for everybody at every
Yeah.
level, and I was really excited to find Book Creator.
Um, okay. Something you said earlier like reminded me of my mantra, which is basically like, if we don't give it to the teachers, it's never going to get to the students, right? Like,
Preach,
mm,
preach.
mm. Like teachers need it. Kids deserve it. Teachers need it, like, and
Yeah.
that, and I deeply like I bleed it.
Our
And
teachers have to be confident in using the tool before they give
yes.
it to the teachers.
Yeah.
And that was my journey to Book Creator. And that's why I say,
Right.
like, this is such the most simple content creation tool out there.
Well,
And
and
I believe it. I've
I
seen it,
totally agree. I totally
Yeah.
agree. And I think the what I love about what you shared too is you're like, I tried this, I tried this. They were abandoning it, like wasn't the right
Yeah.
fit. And it reminds me of like, because so I taught middle school for 10 years, 9 years, 1 year high
Okay.
school. Then I jumped into being an edtech TOSA about 12 years ago. So I was that's how I know Anne, and that's how I know a bunch
Yeah.
of people, because we
Yeah.
were all TOSAing together in like the early 2010s. And that's when like all of the solutions were coming out, and Google was blowing up, and Microsoft was like, everybody was just like tech, 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 tech.
Yeah.
Um, and it was raining resources. Like, and there was money for the tech at that time. And
Oh, I missed that. I
you
missed
did
that.
miss it. You missed it because it's different now. But what's interesting is like I ultimately, like, the reason why I kind of fell into ed tech, and I fully fell into it, was
Yeah.
because I just love the way it let me connect with my middle school students. Like,
Hmm.
the moment when I was like, wait a second, there is a Google document. I can leave a comment and I can watch them typewrite at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I was already the teacher that was pretty hands off. Like, I'd already started flipping my classroom. I was like, okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna, like, I was kind of the teacher that hung out more towards the front of the room, but always, like, spidey eyes were always open. Ears I could hear across the room, but I wanted to give them space as if I wasn't, like, on top of them. And then all of a sudden, when I was able to, like, see the creative process, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Hmm.
And and then things just got better and better and better. But to your point, like, I never considered myself like the tech person, but it kind of happened, and then through social media, a lot like your story, like, I found some other people who were doing the Tosa thing all by themselves, and we were like, how are you doing that? How are you doing this? I don't know. Do I belong? I don't know. Like, we were all kind of floundering. So it's interesting for me to hear that you've arrived at the journey literally a decade later, and it doesn't sound like it was that different. Like, I'm trying to think, like were you a book creator, like do they have ambassadors?
Yeah, I ended up, after I created my first book and my first couple books, and I started using it with students, I was like, I was in other ambassador groups, I was within, Cura Pod, School AI, Magic School, just all different ones.
All of them.
And I've always enjoyed my connections within community. So, of course, hey, let me become a book creator ambassador. And then we presented at ISTE, our EduGuardian thing, at the book fair booth in our book, and just showcased, what students had created. And so the rest has been history.
Okay, so go to EduGuardians. Take us there. Like, what's that backstory? How did it come together? Is it still, like, ticking? Is it doing its thing still?
It's still doing its thing. It's still doing its thing. So, what was it, about February of last year? We always say it's 5 strangers who literally, one of them, Microsoft was throwing out just like superheroes prompts, and we were all kind of like within communities, but maybe we just didn't connect, but we kind of maybe knew of each other. And Christy, she created it, and then she put it in a group chat, was like, hey guys, create it. And we're like, okay, like, this is fun, this is creative, this is extra. And like, little do we know, I mean, like, that day or the next, like 30 people started doing it. And
oh my God,
we were like, what is this? And then like, we just came up with like a funny name, like just EduGuardians, like.
Was there a reason for the Guardians?
I think the Guardians were just that superhero, like, we're protecting education, just edu, and then like Guardians. Yeah. And ChatGPT definitely helped us with that name. And then like, people, I mean, from all over the world, I mean, it went from 30 to 120 to 200, and just grew and grew and grew. All on Twitter, all on X. And us 5 just became really good friends, and we were able to just really very authentically a community that happened. None of us worked for a tool at that time. We really just wanted to share knowledge. We really wanted to uplift the community. We had like EduGuardian exchanges, and we still do, where people from different tech tools would donate. Then we started our Tech T-shirt Tuesday, and so we blew that up. And so,
Jennifer Womble posts that, right?
That's our girl, Jennifer Womble.
Is she one of the EduGuardians?
She is an EduGuardian, and she is
that.
Yeah, she is a huge supporter of the EduGuardians, because at FETC we actually have an EduGuardian meetup. She is so amazing. She always wears her EduGuardian T-shirt at ISTE or at FETC. And so she's been so supportive of that community, because, Jim Womble is really just the most amazing person that leads a conference. And is always supportive of the educational community, no matter where you come from, no matter what tool you like, you work for. She's here for educators, and she uplifts the community. We had an EduGuardian meetup last year at FETC. We're going to again this year. So shout out to Jen. Yeah, she's a good friend of mine.
Big shout out to Jen. Yeah. She was on my list of she should come on the bridge, because she's such a connector.
She is a huge connector, and it's been really cool. And and we always love going to FETC to support her, just seeing her, getting those hugs from her. Yeah. She is one of the most visible leader of conference. Like, she's tireless. Everywhere. I still don't know how she goes everywhere. She travels a ton. But yeah, big shout out to Jen. She definitely needs to get on here.
She does.
Yeah, love her.
Okay, I didn't realize EduGuardians was like so new and like so vibrant, and like I want to make sure we put links in the chat just in case anybody's like, oh, I want to know more. And in fact, I'm selfishly, I'm like, I want to see what's going on here. I
Yeah.
Another chapter that I didn't share that I think I'm drawing connections to is I back during those TOSA days, there were a couple teacher Twitter chats that were happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you all doing
I
EduGuardians chats?
we've done a few,
Okay.
but I definitely wasn't in this whole Twitter thing when all those chats were blowing up, but I've heard about them,
Oh my
and I've
God.
seen some, and I know some had started on Blue Sky.
We tried Blue Sky again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it
yeah.
just didn't
So,
work.
but I've jumped into some. I've learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love just being able to connect with new people and
Totally.
in the chats. But I've heard about these Twitter chats that they were just
They were
awesome.
crazy.
So
They were,
yeah,
honestly, they were a lifeline. And
that's cool.
yeah, so there was one that I moderated with several different people over, but kind of like you said, like every good story starts with, well, there were these 5 strangers that decided to do blah, blah, blah. Like for us, it was
Yeah,
three strangers that met at a conference that decided, hey, what if every Tuesday for an hour we like throw some questions out on Twitter? And like you said, oh my gosh, how amazing is it when
yeah.
you're like, oh my God, 20 people are on there. Oh my God, now 50,
More and more
now
and more and more. Yeah,
right? And so we were
yeah.
called Connected TL, so Connected Teacher
Okay.
Leaders is what our chat was because we didn't want to say TOSA. We were like afraid that wouldn't include other teacher leaders or people that wanted to be teacher leaders.
Yeah,
And then there was this whole other camp doing a very similar thing called TOSA Chat, which had a ton of my friends in it. So there was like these 2 opportunities, these 2 conversations happening, and nobody at the time was connected to a specific tool, that's kind of what I want to dial into because
yeah.
you made the point. EduGuardians is not like it's not like
It's not
a
about a
tool,
tool. Yeah,
right?
it's even for several of us, I mean, we even had people that worked for a tool that
Mm-hmm.
joined the EduGuardians, made their superhero. But we always made a very strong point is we don't care if you work for a tool, we don't care if you're an educator,
Yeah.
we don't care. We welcome anybody and
Mm-hmm.
everybody. We're not trying to push a tool. We don't do that because so many people love just multiples of
Yeah.
tools. And so we would kind of just organically and authentically just talk about what we loved and what we were using. And be able to even invite people that worked for the tool to showcase, something, but like they would send, Tech T-shirt Tuesdays and
Yep.
support the community. And I don't think anybody's ever tried to really just like push that tool or this tool. It's just what you like, what you do, get some ideas from everybody. And we've learned so much. Like we always say, there's an EduGuardian for that. Because like there's so many people that use this or use that, or just like, what are they teaching and I can go to that person. If I'm new to STEM, who else teaches STEM? Who else has
Yep.
done this? Go to that
Yes.
person. Who's done this and this activity, or, you go to that person. So I've really enjoyed seeing it just grow and be just authentic. And every time about ISTE, around ISTE, like people get so excited to be able to see each other. And so many people have gone to conferences and they're like, I usually go and I only know myself and I don't get to know anyone else. And it's been a community that
Yeah.
you now have someone to connect with, and you find your buddy, you find your buddy and you're able to connect with them and not feel alone in this edtech world, which I think is just so special. Just like find your buddy, find that person that you can go to conferences and give a
Yeah.
big hug and share ideas. So it's
Yeah.
been really fun to watch to grow.
Oh my gosh. You're bringing back all the feels. I had a conversation with Jenny Long, Magic School Jenny,
Yep.
and we were talking about how in the last 10 years, like I think what you're describing is what was happening 10 years ago, which was nobody belonged to a tool. We belonged to each other,
Yeah.
we were alone on islands and we needed each other to figure out our jobs and to figure out our problems and our solutions. And a lot of those people have since graduated and are doing that work at tools.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
now it becomes, are you Google or Microsoft? Oh,
Yeah.
are you School
Yeah.
AI or Magic School? Oh, and all of a sudden you're like,
Yeah.
but I'm both. I'm all. Like, I don't want
And
to.
I think that is that is that message, and it needs, I was talking to somebody the other day, is like, that's the message that we need to continue to move
Yep.
forward. It's like, you know, when a lot of people see, Jenny Long, they think of magic
Right.
sword. They might think of, Sea Farmer Faubs, and they might think of a book trader. But we're so much more than the tool that
Mm-hmm.
we work for.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm just out here to make sure that every kid, gets their Yeehaw moment,
Yeah.
And gets the opportunity to create. And I know Jenny Long is, does the same thing. Is,
Yeah.
we're so passionate about, kids getting, their education and creating their own Yeehaw moments, that, we're all, a lot of us that work for EdTech Tools now, I just remember we are still educators, like, at
Yes.
heart. And I
Yes.
think, and also, those of you that have gone to EdTech, don't ever forget where you came from, and don't ever
Mm-hmm.
forget your why, because,
Yeah.
and that's so important. I know for me, like, the part of the job that I love the most is I get to go into classrooms and I get to get kids using Book Creator and creating that Yeehaw moment right there in person,
Yeah.
because that was a part of my job that I was like, you're not going to take me out of the classroom. That's going to be a part of my job.
I love
That's going to
it.
be a part of it. And like, if you're not getting back into the classroom in your ed tech, like, go volunteer some time. Maybe you know a teacher that you can just, hey, what are you teaching? Like, let me come in and help you with a lesson. I'm married to a teacher, so I get the pleasure of, I probably will never ever forget, that part. But it's really cool because, me and my wife are constantly building lessons for her class, and just
Yeah.
continuing, like, that education hat and that educator's hat, and
Yeah.
seeing the concerns, seeing what they need. Like, don't ever lose your why. I think
Yeah.
it's easier, said than done. But like,
Totally.
don't forget your why. Continue to get into those four
Yeah.
walls and hug those teachers and see those kids and build lessons. And
Mm-hmm.
so don't ever forget that's where you came from.
I love it. I love it. You're like, I feel so grounded. Like, you have a one of the posts that you shared, maybe it was this week or last week. Clearly, I've been paying attention. You were at a session, and they had you trade your cowboy hat for
Yeah,
for what was a sombrero.
it was a sombrero. Yes, yes.
That was
Yep,
adorable. And I just
that
thought,
was cool.
like how cool. To me, that spoke volumes. Like, even though we haven't spent much time together, I'm like, that just tells me so much. Like just somebody who has made it people feel that comfortable with them that quickly. And I know how hard it is, especially when you're teaching a new tool and people may or may not, they're bringing their baggage,
Yeah.
good baggage, bad baggage, they're bringing it. And I was so, like, touched by that, because I'm like, she gets it. Like, she's able to make community. And
I think community's always been my
it,
why. Community's
yeah,
always been my why. And you know, like, you're bridging that gap, and I think, especially in my PD, it's not about the tech tool that I'm
no,
presenting, right? It's how am I making you feel? Am I making you laugh? Am I making you smile? Am I making
yeah,
you collaborate? Am I making you create? Because that's the part you're going to remember.
mm-hmm.
You're going to remember when you come to my PD. I always tell them, you're going to remember a few things: that a farmer taught you a little bit about Book Trader, and we left with a giving out a big old yeehaw,
I love it.
and so, it's all about how, our teachers feel when they leave our PD.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that's just super important for me. So just, everybody that walks into that room in a PD leaves with a smile, leaves with some laughter, leaves with a friend, a new
yes,
friend, and just making people feel like, they can be creative. Like you said, we got to get to the teachers first
yep,
before that tool gets to the students. But,
yes,
every kid deserves an opportunity to be creative, but we got to get to those teachers,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
then they're going to get to the kids. And but I'm so lucky to see so many people, just giving them the courage to be creative. So I'm very
yeah,
thankful that everybody that walks through my doors or comes to a PD, like, they are so stoked to learn. And so shout out to all those educators that go to any
yeah.
PD, like, they are so stoked to learn. They want to learn. So continue just being that continuous learner. Like, I just love seeing people just want to learn. So shout out to all the educators
Oh
that
my God, love
have
it.
come to my PD. I love it. So yeah.
Okay, last question. If you could go back and talk to Alyssa Faubs, Farmer Faubs. Year 2. Oh my God, Alexa thought I was talking to her. Stop it, Alexa. Alexa, stop.
Talk about technology.
Stop listening. Good Lord. Okay. You, year 2. What advice would you give yourself? Year 2.
Year
3.
2 of teaching?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, hmm. Year two or three of teaching is, if I had to give myself some of the biggest advice,
Mm,
is I would say find your people, find your
mm.
community, hop on social media back then and connect
Uh,
with people, because I've enjoyed so much about connecting with people that at the time of year 2 and year 3, I felt like I was on this island, that the
mm,
only educators I had to reach out to were the people in my building. And, I was this, 20-some-year-old kid that I loved. I knew things, as I had the energy. I loved technology. I loved, project-based learning. But there weren't people in my building that had that same
yeah.
passion. And so I felt kind of just on this island, kind of stuck. Like, do I have to be like the teacher next door? And I felt like I kind of had, because that was the only example
Yeah.
I had.
Totally.
But if I had to go back, I would say hop on social media,
Mm,
be in some of these communities, because the power of community and the power of people that are outside those four walls will make you a better teacher. And you will feel like, hey, that weird idea that you're having, or that extra idea you're having, is not so weird, is not so extra, because there's someone in the States or in the world that is going to uplift that idea and give you resources
mm,
and be your backbone when you really felt like, I'm maybe this is like crazy, and you're not so crazy. So find your people.
mm.
Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to
Yeah.
DM somebody. Don't
Do
be
it.
afraid to get in these communities. Don't be afraid to post, because you have to find your people, because you're not alone in all this.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Boom.
Mic drop. Done.
There you go.
And not only that, like double mic drop. You're like, and by the way, head over to EduGuardians because we're waiting for you.
We're waiting for you. Yes.
What?
Every community is waiting
What?
for you, because there's a place for everyone. So
Yeah.
yes, love it. Yeah.
You're lovely. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah.
And
Super fun.
we'll make sure all your contact info is in the show notes. And like I said, we'll connect people to EduGuardians, myself included. And
Yep.
thank you for what you do and for sharing. You're
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll see you.